So today we're going to be here with Marc Elliott de Lama, founder and owner of Fluent Finance Abroad. We're going to be talking about mortgages on the Costa del Sol and the do's and the don'ts. And one of the things you just said amazed me, and that you said is even the banks works with real estate agents who will give mortgage or arrange mortgages.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because in my mind, everybody has his own specialist and specialty. Is it for a client, for example, better to go straight to the bank? Do they get better offers, or do they get better offers when they work with a specialist like yourself?
That's a really good question, by the way, and thank you for asking. The answer to that is there's a lot of grey in that. But if a client with no experience of buying a property in Spain before, no experience with Spanish property, goes direct to the bank, it can be successful. Of course, it can do. But is it risky? And the answer to that is yes. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that they're going to give you the mortgage that they say they're going to do. And there's no guarantee that the product that they're going to end up offering you, or the loan to value, is going to be what you want. If you want to take the risk out of all of this, you go to a Bank of Spain registered, independent, whole of market mortgage broker, and you pass the responsibility of finding the right finance to a professional. And you take the risk out of it.
And with that, you're going to be talking in English instead of possibly in Spanish. You get a better understanding probably from the documents that you need to sign.
Yeah.
So you actually know what it is that you're signing off.
Yeah, exactly right. And also because of, if you use a broker, registered broker, they will obviously have a track record with various different banks. The banks will know how that broker works, and they have a system with each broker. The broker's task is to understand you as a client, understand the pros and cons of the profile and the application, and then the broker, if he's a good broker, will then send it to banks that are more likely to say yes. If you try and do it yourself, or you try and do it via a lawyer, for example, who isn't a professional in this, they will go to their friend, one bank, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get a successful outcome. There's no guarantee that you're going to have someone advocating for you to make sure you get the best deal.
And that's the thing, because you work down with multiple banks, you are more likely to get the best offer on the market for a client, instead of when he goes directly to one or maybe two banks to talk with them about possibilities.
Multiple times, Maarten, I've had clients come to me and said that, I've been to this bank, but the deal that they've given me is awful. They've signed up with us. I've actually gone back to that same bank and got a better deal.
A better deal for the same client on the offer that was almost already done and signed.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And they're like, how did you do that? I go, well, that's the risk.
The work we do.
That's the work we do.
And what is in your opinion at least, the role of a real estate agent in this? Because I think there are a lot of different opinions in it. In my opinion, a real estate agent or a company should stay away from mortgages and just work with specialists. How do you see that, and how do you see, your opinion and what is actually happening in the market?
That's a really good question, one I've never been asked before. So I think a real estate agent is obviously fundamental. They're the guys that are actually finding the product that the clients can buy. A good real estate agent will listen to their client and understand what is it they're trying to buy. Do they have the right budget for what is perfect for them? Yeah. A good real estate agent will understand that money is important in the transaction.
Always.
Right? Because we are dealing with large amounts of money. Property is a big money investment. And a good real estate agent will understand that it's good for the client to get good quality advice so that they can do their job properly. Yeah. You need to know that you are showing property that a client will want to buy.
For sure.
And maybe having a mortgage or whatever will help them buy what they really, really want. And then therefore you'll have more chance of actually being successful and selling something.
One of the things that I hear and that we have been doing as well is getting a pre-approval from clients. So we've got clients flying in, they already know that they want to buy a villa of 1 million, 1.5 million. They got the majority of the funds already available, maybe all, but they want to know before they come, am I going to get a mortgage? What documents do you need? How can we prepare things like this? Is it in your view very good and useful to get things started out and checked out before the client is coming? Even if they don't buy it, it's been a waste of time.
It's never a waste of time, in our opinion, to get educated or get informed as to what are the limits, what are your possibilities. Yeah. I think it's essential that you cover all angles, you do your homework before you actually agree to invest in something. Mm-hmm. In this case, Spanish property. We offer, we're very, very comfortable with speaking to clients very early on in their decision process. We can give them initial guidance, and we can actually take it a step further, where we actually formally apply and get an agreement in principle subject to you finding a property. The beauty of that is like you're almost a cash buyer. Well, you're pretty much a cash buyer. So when your agent, you Martin, find them the perfect property and you're negotiating with a vendor,
it's much better.
You know that you can act quick, you can close within a month because everything's done. All you need to do now is do a property valuation, and which we would have done a pre-val on anyway. So it's kind of like you are literally, when are we signing? How quick can we do this? And that's just what everyone wants. The vendor wants that.
Oh, but we want it as well.
Everyone
because in this initial phase, we have a much stronger hand in negotiating. I mean, there is nothing worse. I mean, for me in the Costa del Sol, where a lot of people are cash buyers, than to come, I've got an offer, but it's subject to mortgage. A lot of buyers don't even accept it. So if you have the pre-approved mortgage and it's not even the question anymore, it's, I've got an offer for you. It's definitive. We're going to use the mortgage, but it's not subject to, and we can close in the next month and a half.
Exactly right.
But now you're saying a month and a half, and I think it's very good for people to know, like, this is not the normal time frame for a mortgage, the whole process. This is the end part.
That's the end part.
A mortgage, how long do we need, and what kind of documentation and things do clients need to prepare? What do they need to keep in mind about the whole process, the length of it?
Okay, to do the job properly, it does take some time. So we need to have an initial conversation. We have to build rapport and trust with the client. The client has to believe that we can do the job first. That takes time, obviously. Yeah. We're not buying in La Cañada, buying a pair of shoes where it's a 20-minute transaction. No, This is, in depth, talking about clients' fiscal situation. We need to understand the fiscal situation, and then we have to start gathering the documentation. A lot of our clients are wealthy, and they have complicated structures in place, which is fine, but that requires understanding, and that requires documentation to be backed up. That then needs to go out to all the banks, and then that needs to be understood by the banks. That needs to go up to underwriting, and so that takes time. So in order to do the job properly, we like to engage as early as possible. Now, if you found a property, you should really allocate 2 to 3 months before close. The sooner you can start, the better it is, really.
And now, because we're talking about quite a lengthy time, 3 months, it's not nothing. Costs-wise, how is this? Where and when are the costs for the clients, for your services, for the general part? Can you give a little bit an insight in how that works?
Well, let's imagine I was helping you, or we started. So we would have an initial discussion. You would disclose your situation. I will assess that. I would then, if I liked the case and I thought, we can work here, I would then send you a proposal. That there is for free.
Okay.
Right, no charge. The consultation and the study is for free. Whatever you decide to do with my proposal is completely up to you. You can throw it in the bin if you want. So no risk to you. Well, I do need information in order for me to come with a proposal. If you like the proposal, so we would charge a broker fee, right, in total at the end, and we agree a flat fee.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would assess, okay, in order to be successful for you, I would have to allocate X amount of investment and man hours into obtaining this. We ask you to sign, obviously, because we need your
The
permission
guarantee and the permissions.
to go and speak to the banks on your behalf. And you pay us a small amount up front, normally about 10%, maybe €500.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is a commitment from you to us that you're going to employ us and we're going to do the job for you. We come back and come back with various different offers if we can. And the beauty of it is that we will show you our working. So if we've got you 5 different offers, we will actually present all 5.
Oh.
Even the declines as well. So let's say you get 2 declines in there, we will show you. And then it'll be down to you which offer is the right one for you. So we're not commission driven from the banks.
No.
It's ultimately your choice.
Which one is the best offer? Because it's not always that the best offer in your mind is the best one that fits with the client or their ideas.
Exactly right. Yeah. So like, for example, you may be thinking, I really want a long-term fixed rate.
Yeah.
We might get a really good variable rate, which I would take.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's your choice, your money, right?
And that's the thing that is always with sales and consulting jobs like this. We cannot get into the head of the clients. We need to present them the options, and in the end they need to decide. And that's what I really like about the way you guys work. You don't just present one option, which is what you will have when you go directly to a bank or when you work with other companies who just work with 1 or 2 banks. Makes their life easy, but it's not in the best interest of their client.
It's more work going to more banks, right?
Yeah, more work, but in the end, it's the better offer for the client.
But it's a much better end result.
Yeah, there is a lot of off-plan going on here on the coast as well. How is that? Because of course, this is a complete different world. I want to buy something now, but it's only going to be ready in 2, 3, 4 years, or maybe even longer. How do you guys work with that, and what is the advice on the client? Because my situation is going to change in the next 2, 3 years. I might lost my job or whatever. How does that affect the potential for mortgages and, well, being sure that I can buy it if I put my 30 or 40% down now?
Again, good question. Off plan, okay, so just to make one thing clear, Spanish banks will not finance until the house is built.
Yeah, valuation.
And the town hall has given permissions for the property to exist. So it all comes at the end. And you're right, it is a big decision to put 30, 40% down with 2 years of a journey to go and for the build. Now we understand that. And we're more than happy to have initial discussions with clients and go through the basics with them. We can even apply for a mortgage at that time, get a mortgage agreement now, subject to having to renew it again.
Yeah, okay.
We have no problems with that because we understand how worrisome or how unnerving it may be not having someone to hold your hand throughout the whole process. So we would do the initial study before they put down the 30%, and we will hold their hand throughout the whole process, and we will talk to the clients throughout the 2 year or 3 years or year and a half, whatever, and we will say, has anything changed? Are you still in the job? Oh no, I've just moved job, but I'm on a big increased salary. Okay, great. So we're coaching them throughout the journey so that we're there and the mortgage is there when they need it, and that will be in 2 years' time when they get called to completion. So we understand it's a big thing and we want to be there to help.
And it doesn't happen a lot that if you get your first initial agreement that in the end it doesn't happen, or the people can't get the mortgage, or there is something wrong, or does that happen a lot? Or is it mainly if you get the first initial agreement and the situation stays the same with the client that everything goes well?
We never really have any problems with clients. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? No. So, for example, we had one where, husband and wife, unfortunately, the husband died. That's no one's real fault, and that's just the way, and the sale didn't go through. So, these things happen.
Luckily, a lot of times in a situation like this, also the sale gets cancelled and people get the money back.
Exactly. If we've done our job properly, a client should never, ever not get a mortgage.
Okay. And is there a big difference, for example, between loan to value? So how much percentage you can get between off-plan or existing building? Does that differ? Or
It's exactly the same. The house is the same. The bricks and mortar are exactly the same. The value. One thing people may think is that because we're bought off plan or bought in early, the value will be higher. Generally it is, because the developer has increased value there. The banks won't go above the 70% maximum, which is on the actual price that you paid for it.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
that is for non-resident people.
That is for non-residents, that's correct, yeah.
Hey, and one of the things that is very big in different European countries, but what isn't here in Spain, is buying with the intent to rent out. And well, that is big, but mortgage-wise, it's a little bit different here than what people might expect. Me, with the knowledge I have from the Netherlands, I can take mortgage after mortgage after mortgage after mortgage, as long as the influx of money coming in from those properties is enough to pay for them, the bank will be happy.
Yeah.
We see a lot of people selling properties in the Netherlands because of, well, tax changes, etc., and coming here and wanting to do the same.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different here. Can you explain a little bit about the possibilities with getting multiple mortgages from banks and how difficult it actually is here?
Okay. I used to do this job in the UK. I used to be a mortgage broker, licensed mortgage broker in the UK. So I'm quite comfortable with the concept of rent to buy to let.
Yeah.
Which is when you buy a property and the rent that you receive, the cash flow that you receive from the property is enough for a lender to say grant you the mortgage based on the cash flow. That exists in Holland, obviously, and that exists in my country. That doesn't exist in Spain. There are no buy-to-let mortgages. It doesn't exist. So every mortgage that is being bought and requires a mortgage will have to be serviced by your ability to show that affordability. Mm-hmm. So everything is based on your income. In the UK, and I'm not sure about Holland, but in the UK, the mortgage regulation only covers your main residence. Any investment properties that you decide to enter into is non-regulated business. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that the lenders are more freer, because if you don't pay, they can take the property back very, very quickly. But because that doesn't exist in Spain, everything in Spain is regulated. That means, again, the banks are very reluctant to enter into business of rental. With someone who is looking to create a property investment portfolio.
But in the end, it is possible to get a mortgage on a property that you want to get used as a rental. Because, for example, my house in the Netherlands, in my mortgage deed was that I was not allowed to rent it out short or long term.
Wow.
And it was only to be used for me as my main residence.
Yeah.
Is something applies here? That isn't the case.
No.
So if you buy it, you can rent it short term, long term, whatever you want.
Exactly. The lender will not put restrictions on it. What they will say is that the property must be maintained into a high standard. You know, you can rent it out, no problem at all. They're not going to put any restrictions on that. But the idea of having 10 mortgages in Spain through Spanish banks, that is not achievable. It's not possible.
So even for the ultra rich, for example, who are looking to pile on properties as their portfolio, investment portfolio, it's actually not doable. They can do it in cash.
They can do it in cash.
Buy it outright, but getting 10 mortgages, 15 mortgages is actually a no-go here in Spain.
There's so much more to it as well. And just one other thing, in the UK, for example, if I was a lender and I needed to repossess a buy-to-let, it would take me 26 weeks on average. Spain, it's 5 years minimum.
Long time.
As a lender, that would put me off.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another reason. There's more reasons as well, but it's not in your favour. If you're planning to build a property portfolio using bank money, Spain may not be the right country.
A bank is not very interested in the risk that it comes with it.
That's right.
And like, for example, the UK, they have a specific mortgage product for it. Here, it's not there.
It may come in the future.
Okay.
But not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay, well, at this point, I don't have any other questions. I don't know if there is still something that you'd like to discuss or things that you think that I've missed or that is very important for the people to know.
The only thing I will say is Spanish banks can be a bit funny about what currency you earn in. An example, if you were living in Singapore, for example, that may complicate things slightly. But again, it's all down on a case by case basis, and we would understand the strengths and weaknesses of each.
And on that, do you see, for example, that the interest rates that, in this case, for example, if you're from Singapore, is going to be different than if I'm going to be Dutch or Spanish?
No, not at all. If you are living and paying tax in Spain, you're a resident or Spanish, you'll pay slightly less. But Spanish banks are amazingly competitive when it comes down to interest rates. Okay. You know, you just signed one for a North American, and we're looking at a long-term fixed rate, 15 years, below 3%.
Wow,
that's good, and
that's amazing.
That's North American, so it doesn't matter if he was French; you still get the same thing. So if you're from Singapore, or Australia, or anywhere, you still get an amazing interest rate with Spanish banks.
And if we then, for example, compare the interest rate that is currently available here in Spain to the rest of, say, for example, Europe.
Yeah.
How is that?
Well, in terms of Europe, okay, we're one of the cheapest out there in Spain for non-residents. I'm talking non-residents, not just... So we as a non-resident, if I was to go to Holland and ask for a mortgage, I probably would struggle, but I would probably get a much higher interest rate than what a Dutch person would be able to get here. And that's the same in Ireland, that's the same. Now, if you compare the UK, interest rates in the UK are much higher compared to Spain. And if you compare interest rates in the States compared to Spain, we're talking 3 points below.
Wow. So
all American clients at the moment, they just really want some leverage because they're borrowing at 3%. Their investment portfolios are generating 12 or 13 or whatever it is they're doing. It makes sense for them. It's really cheap money.
It is. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Maarten. Appreciate it.
Yeah.